As Anfield glows in morning light cast by the rising sun, the ancient grudge will have its dawn. The oldest foe has come. At vanished glory days of yore, set our souls alight. For a new trial now lies at the door. Today we stand and fight. Let all of Anfield rise once more to the quickening beat of battle. Let them hear the hearty roar and fear of raucous rattle. The stage is set upon the turf where the devil's dreams are sighted. For no greater show is seen on earth than Liverpool Man United.
Well, it's a season in which old rivalries aren't quite what they were in terms of positions in the table, but they still have that added spice because Liverpool are top of the table with 61 points from their opening 21 games, a record not just for the Premier League, not just for the whole of the English League, but for the whole of Europe's top 5 leagues. Manchester United in 5th place. Their aim is on qualifying for the Champions League, but they are 27 points behind their bitterest rivals. Manchester City, of course, Manchester United's closest rivals, Everton, Liverpool's closest rivals, but this rivalry is one that's got real history, isn't it?
Yeah, it has got real history, and, you know, we do build this game up, you know what I mean, and sometimes it gets so tense that, you know, it turns into a kind of a stale affair right now. Mourinho's not involved in this one, so it should be pretty cool. But then you look at what Liverpool are doing right now and what Man United are doing. Man United can only literally try and maybe cause a little bit of an upset. But I feel that the way Liverpool are going, even when they ain't playing well, it's a game that I can't see them not winning.
Although it is the only team that Liverpool have dropped points against this season.
Yeah, it's true, but I agree with Righty. At this point, we're watching a team that is so confident, so much in form, and it feels like they know what's going to happen every game. While when I watch Man United, they don't always know what's going to happen, and that's kind of tricky, especially when it comes to the magnitude of a size of a game like this. It's like you want to make sure that you know as a team what the outcome is going to be, or at least influence the outcome. And in Man United now, we're hoping for an upset because that opens up the league and people feel like, oh, something can happen. But Liverpool is so far ahead.
Yeah.
The fact that it's at Anfield make a difference, do you think?
Not really. I think, if anything, it might make it more difficult for Liverpool with United as the away team, playing like an away team, trying to play on the counter-attack, do what they did to Man City, perhaps, which was really convincing. You know, they really took them apart in that performance, a beautiful counter-attack performance, 3-1 win, one of their best games of the season, perhaps the best game of the season. And I think you saw enough from Liverpool in terms of vulnerability against Spurs in the second half to suggest that if they open up, if they, you know, chase the game a little bit, that you can get to them on the counter-attack. And United have the perfect players for it.
I've got to say as well, we go back as far as Watford. When Watford played them, Watford caused them so many problems, Liverpool. And yes, you can see Man United maybe doing that, but then no Rashford maybe. You know, who's going to really get on the ball for them to really give them the kind of penetration that they're going to need to continuously cause Liverpool problems? These are the things that I'm looking at. And I feel that Liverpool can really put even more of a statement down by beating Manchester United convincingly in this time, and I think that might happen.
Particularly because it's the team that they dropped points against. Yeah. So what did Manchester United do that they did in the previous game that made them the only team to take points off Liverpool in the league this season?
Yeah, but you say what they've done, but when you look at Man United and look at how they're in and around Liverpool, they stopped them from playing. They had pace like Daniel James. You see Rashford getting in there. It was one of those games, like Mario said, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know what Man United you're getting. And this one was a Man United that were, on their day, they would have beaten anybody because they were so good in respects of closing them down, putting them under pressure, and making sure that Liverpool were, you know, having to pull out their best stuff.
Raf, what do you think? Is it a similar sort of performance we're expecting from Manchester United then?
I think so, and I think Liverpool are probably not, despite the results, at their very best at the moment. I think even when they dominated the game, again, I go back to the Spurs game, which was the most recent game, they had one or two players who weren't quite their best, I think, especially the fullbacks, where you always notice it when they're not quite on it and the crosses don't quite come in or the runs are not quite right, then Liverpool struggle a little bit to create chances because the fullbacks are so important. And if United catch Liverpool in a similar moment, maybe just on a little bit of an off day, then because it has the added drama and the history and that bit of slight sense of nervousness, I think, that you sometimes felt in these games, especially on the Liverpool side, it might be enough to get a result. Maybe not to win, but I think to get away with another frustrating day for Liverpool.
It could have been even more frustrating against Tottenham. As Raf was saying, it finished as a 1-0 win to Liverpool at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And we know about the threat from Liverpool going forward. We saw that they did manage to get the decisive goal in this game, and it was a sort of familiar sort of Liverpool move, familiar Liverpool players who were involved in that. But as Raf pointed out, the chances that they conceded, Liverpool, without actually conceding a goal, showed the defensive frailties that might be exploited by Manchester United.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this opportunity from Song where he, I think he just got put up by the defender. But when you look at moments like this, this moment when I was watching, I was like, oh, he had to score this. Yeah. Because it comes, the angle for him is also in his favour. I mean, you saw Mourinho's reaction. But just going back overall, when you look at them, just as a team, I think there is so much more that people can throw at them. And I think sometimes when teams go to Liverpool, they already feel that they can't win this game. When they're facing Liverpool, they feel already like, this might be a tricky challenge for us. And I think that's the only downside, I feel like, when people go to them. When you look at Man U, even in the three forwards, when they are so decisive, the two wingers, they almost push the forwards of Man United that far back. If Man United can cope with that and don't let that happen to them, because you got to double up. Every time when you got to double up on a player, you're losing another one going forward. Yeah. And that's what the key is, what Liverpool has the advantage to all the teams. If there is a team that doesn't care about that and really wants to take the risk and face them on a one-on-one situation, that's when you can really dismantle them, because the fullbacks are always attacking. So you can catch them on a break. And I think that's what Man U did really well in the first game. But this is a whole different situation now.
As much as we talk about the tactical side and the way that Manchester United could approach this game in order to get a result against Liverpool, how much of the battle that they overcome has to be psychological?
What you mean with Liverpool?
From either side. I mean, in terms of overcoming Liverpool's belief and their sort of the mentality that they have. Klopp famously called the mentality monsters. But also Manchester United going into it thinking this is a team who don't lose at Anfield.
Yes, they'll be going in saying that, because when's the last time Liverpool lost? So you're going in, you can't help but going into that stadium thinking, God, they ain't lost here for I don't know how long. So already Man United, for me, that should be enough for them to try and upset them. Liverpool know they have this as well. So if you go there, like I say, I can only go to the Watford game, Liverpool at home, and if Watford, with more clinical forwards, could have won that game. And so if Man United go there and they put Liverpool under pressure and try to keep them under pressure, because Liverpool have to come out, of course Liverpool are well in front with the points, so it's not a game that's going to totally cause major problems in the race, but it can be a game that knocks them a little bit off their axis, and then the confidence starts, you maybe start losing confidence. It's an opportunity for Manchester United to have, are Man United in that kind of vein where they can put a Liverpool team that's so dominant under that kind of pressure for that amount of time? I don't think they can, especially without Rashford.
But I think the interesting thing is, listening to you, I'm already seeing sort of a very cagey game, because Liverpool thinking, Man United might put some early pressure on us, let's just keep it safe. Yeah. Man United thinking, Liverpool at home, going to put some early pressure on us, keep it safe. And then you have two teams kind of waiting for things to happen, which has often happened in this tie in recent years. And sometimes even against United, Klopp has preferred not to send both fullbacks forward. Sometimes only one of them go forward, and then they don't quite have the same dynamic up front. So that caginess, I think, might creep in.
Liverpool don't need, for me, Mario. They don't need to get into a we need to be Liverpool can sit off a little bit and just let Man United do what they're doing and pick them off, because they've got enough points.
So maybe rely on the odd goal, which potentially is what's led to this really odd statistic about Liverpool's front three against Manchester United. You look at Arsenal, Roberto Firmino's got 8 goals against Arsenal, Salah 5 and Mane 4. but only Mane has scored of those front three against Manchester United out of the big six teams in the Premier League.
That's amazing. That is very interesting.
Yeah, I know, that's it. But I'm not sure, does it tell us something about how Manchester United have traditionally played against Liverpool? Does it tell us that Liverpool have struggled against them, that the front three in particular have struggled against them? What does it tell us, do you think?
Look, when it comes to a game like this, the game stands for itself, right? You want to perform. It doesn't matter what you did before or what you're going to do after, because this particular game is just a game that stands on itself. It's a intense game. You know the pressure that it comes with. So you want to perform to your best. And how they play, just like we talked about, Man United now, they sit in a way that when they sit deep and then try to counter-attack, Liverpool is always going to be worried about that if they have the speed in the game. So also for the forwards, that becomes an even trickier thing. And I think Liverpool is maybe a little bit more defensively against Man U than they normally would be. It's like they sit back a little bit more and they don't support the forwards as much. Righty just said they don't need to. Why? Because they got those two up front, regardless if they didn't score that many goals. But how great is it to be a player in a team that you can just sit back and know that you got three forwards like that?
Yeah.
That's all Liverpool got to do when they got big games like this. And I expect them to do the same. So that's why the goal tally is they didn't get the support that they normally get. But will they get it if they do that this weekend? I think the numbers will go up.
I think maybe if we looked at that, Kels, I think we'll probably see a lot of chances missed, probably in those games. Chances that they normally, Salah and Firmino would normally take, because that for me is quite baffling when you see of how good those three are. So that's what I'd like to see, how many chances, good chances they missed in those games.
Do you know what Jürgen Klopp's win rate is against Manchester United?
It's not good.
It's not good. It's worse than against any other team in the whole of his management career. 10 matches and 2 wins against Manchester United. He's got a worse record against them than anyone else. Why?
I'm not sure there's an easy explanation. I think certainly Mourinho's Man United tried to frustrate him and played very, very deep.
And yet Klopp's record against Mourinho isn't bad on its own.
Yeah, that's correct. But I think what Klopp said about that United, and even I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's United, is when you have great players playing with so much commitment and organisation defensively, then it becomes very difficult, because you know that you're going to play against most teams and they're going to defend. But when it's really good players who are willing to play like the underdogs and then wait for that mistake and really punish you, then it gets difficult. And Man United, I think because of the other side being Liverpool, have often raised their game. So even against a relatively poor United over the last few years, by their own standards, they can probably look back at most of those Liverpool games and think we've actually kind of performed in those games all right, which comes from the whole derby dramatics and mentality.
The one exception, of course, being Mourinho's last game, which was at the end of a very difficult period, let's call it that, for Manchester United. Now, he may not have the best record against Man United, but Mohamed Salah's time at Liverpool has earned him legendary status amongst the club's fans.
So we sent a legend of the past to go and speak to the man, hoping to lift the Premier League trophy in a few months' time.
This fixture is the two biggest clubs in Britain. Is in the dressing room, is it still seen as this is the big one of the year?
For us, it's like a 3-point game. We need to win. We need to carry on like in our way, the way we are doing since the beginning of the season, or even since last year. So it's for us as a game that we have to win it. It's okay. Of course, we know that's big for the fans, for the city, for us, but in the end of the day, we play the game to win.
Goal scoring has just now gone through the roof. Is that practice of finishing or just a different mental mindset?
I think it's everything. I started working more mental like 3-4 years ago. I was like questioning myself all the time, mental, if I'm preparing everything or not, and also practicing all the time for shooting, finishing. Not just with shooting and finishing, also playing the game different position, involved more inside more than outside, because my game is already outside. So there's a lot of things I think it's improved, and a lot of practice behind it.
Does this Liverpool team think that they can go unbeaten for the rest of the season?
our focus now is just in Man United game. We just take one game at a time. So we don't think like to be like unbeaten until the end of the season, but yeah, if we do that, it will be great. But at the end of the day, we just want to win the Premier League. So that's the most important thing.
The fans are dreaming. Can the players afford to dream about lifting that trophy just yet?
I think it's too early to talk about it. Last year we were talking about it. It's still a long way to go. We just need their support and need them behind us like always. And we will do our best to win it.
Well, obviously nobody at Liverpool is talking about lifting the Premier League title, despite how we talked about Mo Salah hoping to do that. But in terms of what they've done already with Salah and with the rest of the forwards, how much of it is down to their individual talent and how much of it is down to the way that they play and they link up together?
I think the way they play and the way they link up together, and sometimes you see when they play, and yes, maybe Mane could have passed to Salah more, or vice versa, but when you've got the ingredient, which is Firmino, and then you've got that ball going into him, it's very hard to question any kind of fault in what they're doing. And this is why even looking at the one goal, what Mane scored against Man United is so baffling, because there's so much interchanging, there's so much coming from both wings, there's so much coming to them that as a three, like I say, they can just wait for things to happen, get the ball into Firmino, and even if it's not going well, he'll do something beautiful and wonderful, and then bam, it will happen. It seems like they can be unstoppable, and when you get this game, and Man United, me, if I'm a Man United player, I'm actually quite afraid of what could happen, because they're in such a great position in where they don't have to go for it, they're not under pressure to go for it. That makes players like that relax, and then they can do whatever they want when they're like that.
It's why the announcement that the Africa Cup of Nations will be moved from summer next season to January and then into February for weather reasons, at the request of Cameroon, the host, is going to be particularly difficult for Liverpool when it comes around to January, February next season, because they'll lose Salah and Mane and Naby Keita as well in that time.
Yeah, but if you look at Klopp, the way he anticipates certain key moments, and now that he knows this, I won't be surprised if he anticipates again. If you look just the way he built his team, if one of the players comes out, he always seems to have an answer for whoever is going to take that position. And we've been watching, and the competition is so brutal in that team. He knows he has his starting 11, but he always have the other player that can take over. And I think that's what made Liverpool to what they are today. Because I don't think a champion team it's the bench that dictates how well the starting levels are, because the competition is between those two. And if you can stay in that team and you got 5 guys or 6 guys waiting to get in, and now with the African Nations is happening, if he's got the same answer and can, counter to that, I don't think there is a problem. The only problem will come if he waits till the last moment, and now he's got to struggle with his injuries.
And of course, it is a problem for next season. There is time to fix that one. In the meantime, though, this match fast approaching against Manchester United, and they have a brand new captain in Harry Maguire. The defender replaces Ashley Young, who's close to completing a move to Inter Milan.
I think it was for Ashley, he's 35 in the summer, and if he gets a 2-year contract somewhere, I think it's up to him to take that. We weren't ready to offer that. He's been a good servant for the club. He's been captain. He's won trophies, league, cups. But we got players coming through. So it was time now then, when Ashley's head and mindset was on, I want to try this. So why not do it now? Harry has been wearing the captain's armband, and he will keep wearing it. He's come in and been a leader in the group. He's been very, very, I've been not surprised, but I've been impressed by his leadership skills. So Harry will keep on wearing the armband.
Andy Mitten is editor for the United We Stand fanzine, and he joins us now. Andy, before we talk about the match against Liverpool, what do you make of the decision to make Harry Maguire the captain?
I think he'll be welcomed by United fans. He looks like a leader in a dressing room that has been short of leaders. He's English, and I think that's a good thing in these circumstances. Antonio Valencia was captain, didn't really speak English. I don't think that was a good thing for the captain of Manchester United. And he's had a decent first season so far. You can see he's been frustrated when things have not gone well at all. I remember speaking to him after Southampton away, and he was very, very frustrated that they'd dominated the first half and then dropped points. So I think it's a positive in a very up and down season for Manchester United. And Ashley Young moving on, he's been a decent pro, but he's been offered a 2-year contract, and he probably wouldn't have got that given he turns 35 in the summer at Manchester United. And as Ole Gunnar said, you've got Brandon Williams there who's doing really well, and Luke Shaw offering competition for that position too.
So Andy, going into the big game, Man United going in and at a stage where, you know, it's a Man United team that's they play well, then they don't play well. What is the Man United fans' feelings about getting something out of this game, Andy?
You're right. It's baffling and vexing because United can be so good against the best teams like Liverpool. They almost beat Liverpool at Old Trafford in October. Yeah. They played well in the last game at Old Trafford. Obviously, they were hammered in the last game at Anfield, and that led to Jose Mourinho going. But United is so unpredictable because they do so well against the best teams, and they get them great results against Spurs at home or against Manchester City away, and then they get beat a Watford team who hadn't won a game. Had won 1 in 17. They lost at Bournemouth, who can't win at all now. They lost at home to Crystal Palace. They've got to be more consistent, and that's what frustrates United fans because they can see evidence of improvements at times, and then they go and drop points and fall away. They're the 5th best team at the moment. They're inconsistent. That's not good enough for Manchester United. They've got to be more consistent. And Ole Gunnar has kept the support of most of the team, most of the fans. I think 85% of the people who we survey tend to be match-going fans rather than online. Right. They think he should be given time. But there are frustrations as well, and it's a pretty wretched start to the year, that performance at Arsenal. They beat Norwich last weekend. That was obviously better, but Liverpool are brilliant. They're the European and world champions. They even won the English League title 30 years ago. So, it's going to be very difficult for Manchester United.
He wrapped that one in. Yeah, I love that though. I love that.
Andy,
but it's true.
But given how well Marcus Rashford has done against Liverpool when he's played against them, how worrying was it to see him coming off with that back injury?
He's got better and better, and he's scoring a lot more goals now. You could never say that he's been prolific. I remember Paul Scholes' quote that he was a scorer of great goals. But he's scoring a lot more this year. He's become very, very important. He continues to improve. He's a Manchester lad. He's a United fan. That all adds in the mix when you're playing against Liverpool, and he'll be a miss if he's not playing at Anfield. Manchester United are short. The squad is short. Ole Gunnar feels that he needs 3 or 4 transfer windows to get the team back to a position where they're fighting for titles, let alone winning titles. You need your best players. Rashford is probably one of the few world-class players. Pep Guardiola spoke to somebody who I know and said a couple of years ago, he's the only Manchester United player who he would take at Manchester City. So that shows that he's rated. Barcelona definitely spoke to him. They were interested in signing him last year. Manchester United have got absolutely no intention of selling him, but they need the best players for Liverpool away. It's just really difficult to predict what's going to happen there because Liverpool are clearly better than Manchester United, and yet just as you think it's all going to implode for United, they pull out an amazing result.
And so you say, like, we've seen them against City, beat City, we've seen them beat Spurs, and obviously it's easier to get yourself up for games like that. Surely it's going to be easy to get up for this Liverpool game. Where are Man United, if anywhere, are going to be able to say, oh, that is where we're going to cause Liverpool problems?
I think the away end will be louder than the rest of the ground. That's about the only bit that I know. I mean, I know that Liverpool are exceptionally good at the moment. When their fans came to Old Trafford in October, that was the quietest away end we've seen this season in Manchester. And I'm not saying that as a dig because I've got mates who are Liverpool fans who go home and away. I respect them. I know Liverpool's a great football club, and it baffled us. You've just won the European Cup for a 6th time, and they turned up with 2 balloons with the number 6, which they held upside down like a knife. Where are United going to do? They're good on the counter-attack. They don't have the overall team to dominate a team like Liverpool on that small pitch Anfield. Liverpool have got very good strikers. They were clearly dominant in the game last year, but it's that counter where Manchester United are so effective. They do have very fast, skillful, attacking players, when they link up together, it can be a joy to watch. It's just not happening enough. And I remember seeing Liverpool's rise, and when they beat United in the Europa League 2016, that was the first time I'm thinking there's a proper team coming together here. They've clearly got a brilliant manager. And the atmosphere was actually good that night when Liverpool weren't winning everything. So maybe we might see a little bit of noise, because they're not in a bad position to win the league title this year. We can fully rule Manchester United out just yet.
Listen, in terms of the position that Manchester United are in as well, you were saying earlier there's a lot of support, particularly from match-going fans, for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and sort of saying that he should be given time, because you can see what he's trying to do. Bruno Fernandes feels like a player who could be almost the missing part of that jigsaw, certainly for Manchester United. Does that feel like an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer signing? That's something that you can point at and say, we can tell from this potential signing that's where he wants to go?
I think Ole Gunnar's short of players, and he's got to get quality players in, because if he doesn't hit minimum requirements, he'll lose his job. United have got no appetite, and I've asked Ed Woodward about this, for sacking more managers. And one of the reasons the fans support him is because they don't want this continual change of getting rid of managers every couple of years. It hasn't worked signing these superstars on huge salaries, and United have underperformed massively. They've got the second highest wage bill in world football. So there are doubts about Solskjaer. I'm not saying that everyone thinks this is wonderful, because some of the results are disgraceful. But they are backing him. They are still singing his name. Fernandes, I must have watched him twice live in my life. I did a big piece with Benfica this week. I spoke to senior people there, and I said to one of them after the interviews, off the record, what's Bruno Fernandes like? And they said, and they gave a glowing report, box-to-box midfielder, scores, assists, physically should be fine for the Premier League. And you hear that and you're excited. That said, I've heard that about every single player Manchester United who's signed since Sir Alex Ferguson stepped down. And the only doubts I've had, I wrote a piece on Fred, and I got glowing reports off people, but I actually spoke to players who played with him, and one of them said, on the record, it's a great move for him. This is fantastic. Off the record, Andy, he's not good enough. Yeah. And you're trying to establish where the truth is here. Now, Fred has actually been one of the best players for Manchester United in the last couple of months, and it's good to see him come good in this second season in England, but they need to be more consistent, and the team needs strengthening, especially in midfield. Fernandes is a box-to-box midfielder. United do have money to spend, but they're very cautious because they feel they've been stung by agents in recent years who know that they're wealthy and probably feel that they're desperate, because they are a little bit desperate.
Andy, how are you feeling ahead of the game? Nervous or excited?
Both. I find that I always look forward to watching Manchester United play. I'm an optimist, but that can evaporate after 10 minutes. But I love going to Liverpool. I love going to Anfield. They're the two biggest clubs in England. They've both got global support. I love the atmosphere. I love the edge. I don't like, occasionally you can have songs which take it too far. And I just love watching these two red giants from the northwest of England, from cities that punch well above their demographic globally, because they're not that big, but everyone's heard of both of them. Manchester's obviously had better music than Liverpool over the years. But I love it. I love the whole thing. I find that I don't tend to speak to Liverpool mates before or after, because we're just not going to agree on anything. They're clearly brilliant at the moment. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Manchester United got a result there. It's like going back to the 80s when Liverpool were the best team. I never thought United would win the league, and United would go there with players like Norman Whiteside and Brian Robson and get a 3-0 draw, and it just felt magnificent.
Andy, thanks so much. Enjoy the weekend.
Cheers, Anne.
Thank you.
Rafi talked about Bruno Fernandes and said seen him live probably a couple of times in his life, and he gets these reports. He's a box-to-box midfielder. Man United fans can get excited. What do you know about him? Can they get excited? Would this be a good signing?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I've been following his every game and move, but from what I've seen...
You've got a shirt with his name on the back.
Yeah, that's not true, but I mean, he is a talent. He is somebody that has been attracting a lot of following, not just this winter, but also last year we had lots of offers, and United, I think, even then tried to get the move done and ultimately didn't work out. But my only problem is that I think there seems to be this fascination at United with getting the next Roy Keane, and that's been around for decades now. And I wonder if the game has moved on a bit, and if the teams that dominate now dominate by dominating the ball rather than dominating the opposition with their physical presence and running like hell. And that's where I think United have fallen short. Now, I'm not saying that Bruno Fernandes can't play that, because he's, of course, very skillful, very good on the ball, passes, moves, does all the things that a proper centre midfielder does. But if I were United and I'm trying to rebuild a squad here that can go back to the next level, I'm thinking maybe I need something a little bit different. I need someone who can really knit things together, give me that ball possession, that control the midfield that they haven't had for a long time.
Yeah, but you know what I like what you say. Like it could be that you question if the game has moved on, but I call it the midfielder with an edge. And when a midfielder has an edge, he also needs to make sure that he dictates the tempo of the team, and that makes a difference. And when we talk about like now we're talking about Fernandes, but if you look at a Pogba, when he really is at the best peak of his game is when he dictates the tempo. He knows where to pull the ball and he knows how to deliver, and he makes everybody look better. When it's not, it looks really bad. So, and for me, I think if you look at the Man United side, they've been looking for a player that really makes a difference, and they struggle to find that. And I think that's why they make so many quick decisions, and it's not right. And that's what Man United wasn't like. Man United was a team that had young talents. All the other teams are doing it now. I'm not naming Chelsea or Liverpool because my ties to it, but they do have the youth that come through and make a big difference. Man U, Rashford came through, great young talents, you know, Greenwood, great young talents, but then you need the support around those kind of guys, and I feel like that is what they really miss.
Yeah. But they won't have that necessarily for this weekend. They might not have Marcus Rashford, who has been not just exceptional against Liverpool in recent matches, but also his run of form of late has been fantastic. You can split it almost pretty much down the middle. You know, he was making a difference to games, but now his numbers sort of match up with his performances. How much do they need him against Liverpool?
He's an essential part of what if they're going to beat Liverpool, he needs to be playing. I think that he's taken on the mantle of having to be that main guy, you know, after the new contract and the signing of the new contract. He's had a couple of injuries here and there, but the way he's worked on himself and worked on his game and taken on, like I say, the mantle of being the go-to player for Manchester United in respect of the goals that they need, the guy that makes a difference when they're playing, he's really stepped up and done that. And what that says is that he's ready to deal and be a consistent performer. And now that he's doing that, he's got everything. You know, he's somebody that if he can continue this form going into the Euros, he is going to be starting to be getting into echelons of where that people are starting to put him up there with the top players, because you can see the way he works on himself. That's what he wants to do, and he's at the club that's big enough to give him that kind of platform, and now he's realising that, and he's starting to perform.
He's also benefited, I think, from a change of management and change of direction. I mean, how many times did we see him in the Mourinho Man United holding up the ball, being the one guy up front, and everyone else was 30, 40 metres away. And that, for a young kid learning his trade, is really, really tough. Yeah. Now he's got much more movement around him. There's Martial, sometimes there's Greenwood. There's things happening. You can lay it off, you can go deep. It helps every striker, especially one who's still learning at this point. Yeah. So I think that those two things, his maturity, but also that change in system have worked together.
And he's also as well, Raf, we're talking about somebody who is performing. We've seen when Pogba's playing, how Pogba can find him. He's actually performing without somebody who can give him that kind of service as well. So once they do, if it's Fernandes, if Pogba comes back or whatever it is, once he gets that, he will only get better.
Mm-hmm.